Sorry about that, guys. Technical glitch. It should be done glitching. We hope. Right, Dewott, would you like to take away your run?
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. Hey. Well, right off the bat, there is some movement with normal Kirby for once in a Kirby game, which I slide off the edge and press up immediately, which conserves my momentum, and it's immediately useless because I grab fire, which is pretty quick, but is the added annoyance of having to tap right before I do the meteor. Ooh. 1-1 are pretty simple and pretty short level. Levels in this game aren't too long. This level, we get our first instances of bubbles, which you tap on to get the ability shown, which the game just explained, and also meals. But I'm grabbing a ton of them for a specific reason, for the next stage actually. So I will have to re-enter this stage just to grab one more bubble. And then a simple start select to leave the stage. Now, this is the first instance of, and hopefully last, of a normal mix. There is another form that will be shown later on, and I was too early. Each item is 4 frames, and this game is 60 FPS, so there we go. And now I just hold B. There is a little more movement to that, though. As in, this wheel can jump insanely high for no reason. Bosses in this game have a tendency to just not like me. But that went pretty well, so... And this is why I grabbed all those bubbles, because normally it fills your inventory space and gives an extra long ending cutscene at the end of the level, which we don't particularly want. And now this is another instance of mixing, where I just mix 2 bubbles and it gives me a random item. Sadly, I got the single worst ability in the game. Ooh, with a little extra timing, you can actually get over that small 2 gap. Up next is a pretty difficult level to do. Requires a lot of skill. And it's done. DDD is pretty easy, you just wheel into him. Note, for real life, do not run over penguins. You may ruin your windshield. Who cares if the penguins died? It actually matters a lot if the penguins died. Oh, feel free to do them. This section's pretty boring.
Well, the first donation comes in from Game Popper. It's a £40 donation. It reads, "Evening UKSM. Happy to support British speedrunners and special effect this weekend with this donation. Thanks a bunch, Game Popper." The next comes from Scarlet Hawk, which is a £25 donation. It reads, "Good luck, David, and all those coming up after. It's not easy putting together an event like this, and I'm impressed with the effort put in by all." That also brings us over £500.
Ooh. Halfway to beating last year. And as you saw in the previous room, I used a question mark bubble. That has a set order for which abilities appear, but where it starts is random. And what I'm trying to get are invincibility candies, because they absolutely just ruin bosses. Luckily, I will be able to show that later on, even if I don't get a mix. Room's a bit finicky in terms of landing. You don't particularly want to get a bounce because it's kind of slow. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good mix. That's not good. That is really not. That can be saved. It's fine. I luckily have a backup fire. And even still, I can grab wheel back literally just here. If it isn't probably apparent, wheel is incredibly broken for this game. It is by far the fastest ability. It has a stupid amount of vertical speed. Now this boss is quite the annoyance. I do luckily have something that is pretty okay to deal with him, which is a big star, which means that fight went okay. Also, sorry for the sound of the wheel. It is not exactly the most pleasant sound. A note about why I'm getting hit so often: when turning wheel does not have any invincibility, when it normally does. Well, 2-4 has these boulders which honestly don't pose much of a threat. It is really easy to avoid them. And normally, if I was doing another route, I'd grab that chest as it gives the scroll for cutter. And scrolls give extra powers to abilities that would other normally be pretty weak. And the one for cutter does a lot of damage. Luckily, World 2 just loves to give you wheels just everywhere. Though for this boss, I'm switching to sword. That is actually really good RNG that you went to the right. I have never seen that. Now this room up here is quite tricky. There's a door at the end that has pretty strict timing, and it actually surprises me for an early game level. Up next is Miss Molly. She's RNG. She's annoying. Oh, heck. Okay, that was actually good RNG. This is one of the few Kirby games where you can carry on to another level with something in your mouth, and it will keep it there. Up next is World 3, one of the coolest worlds in my opinion. I'll be mixing another... Oh, that is not good. These are mini Kirbys. They are very useless. You need 5 of them to get a 1-up. And yeah, there's only 5 spaces in Kirby's stomach, so it's really not worth it in the slightest to get them, even casually. Skip this chest here. And on to our first kind of water level. But not really, because there's only one section that has water in it. And there we go, past the first water section. Yay. This boss coming up is actually pretty tough to deal with. Ooh. And coming up in the next room, I'm actually going to grab another big chest. Oh, not great place for the chest. Went a bit late there. On to one of the cooler cooler levels in the run. Because it's a long space of wheel movement. Ooh. This level is pretty self-explanatory. If you have any donations, this would be a great time. Okay. Oh. I'll have to mix that later. next level coming up actually gives me a pretty good opportunity to mix both my invincibility, no, both my question marks, rather. Okay, now I have to. Ooh. Now, I'd normally not grab that, but this does make the run safer, as it is the scroll for Tornado. Which, under certain elements, can actually widen its hitbox quite a bit. So this is Krako. If you're familiar with Kirby runs, he's RNG hell. Ooh. Oh, he's giving me some bad RNG. And there we go. That was Krako. Coming up. Are we back up yet?
Yeah, we're back up.
Okay.
Probably should have told you that.
Yeah. So, in the previous level, I grabbed fire right at the end there, which allowed me to grab another question mark bubble, which normally I wouldn't get if I had a spare wheel active. This chest is pretty hard to get with fire. Oh. Oh dear. Okay. There we go. Oh, I got wheel. So, that was a roller coaster of emotions just then. Now, another mechanic of this game. If you're crouching, you do not lose your ability if you're damaged. Which is useful, especially in the TAS run, where most of World 1, they crouch under enemies and just slide everywhere. Just grabbing some health here. So I'm a bit low. coming is a level with amazing music. Ooh. Those enemies are one of the most annoying, especially with how much time you lose if you get swallowed by them. Ooh, that is a ton of wheels, which is really good. Oh. He actually gave me good RNG, I just turned at an inappropriate time. There we go. Oh my goodness, I have never clipped there before. That's not supposed to happen, but honestly, it doesn't even matter. Okay then. Wheels too fast. Ooh. I would normally use sword for this fight, but I'm too low on health. Thus, I'm going to do tornado strats for this. This fight is basically an auto-scroller. And that's it. Now from one hardwell into another. The later levels of this world, and especially the boss, are some of the most tricky parts of this game. And it's mostly due to hard movement and also some RNG. Ooh. Pretty bad time to activate tornado there. Luckily I can just also mix up this ladder. Ooh, one other mechanic is if I get one tomato and another, I can get another mix bubble, which is really handy, especially in the later parts of this game. Five two. This is where it really starts to get hard. A lot of vertical sections, a lot of pretty annoying enemy placement. Managed to avoid them though. Thank goodness. Now for this level, I grab sword. It's a boss rush. Which is everyone's favourite. Most runners would normally grab hammer there. I've timed it with sword, and it's about as fast. And I just find sword strats much more consistent for me. Sadly, they all die in inconvenient locations. Trying to get him over this side. There we go. And that was a pretty... words. That was a relatively easy boss rush. Now this level, because we come out of the previous level with sword, it doesn't lose much time to grab animal here, which has the ability to dig through certain surfaces. Which allows me to grab this, an invincibility candy, something we have not seen up until this point. I feel I should take this time to mention that this is initially a DS game, but I'm playing on Virtual Console, which saves upwards of 2 minutes compared to DS. Playing this on an actual original DS is a bit of a nightmare. The loads are almost 10 plus seconds from one room to the other. Though some people prefer to play on it due to better controls. The gamepad is not particularly the greatest when it comes to buttons. Now this is a boss I like to call Fire Rowlet for a very obvious reason. Ooh. Something I need to note, the touchscreen actually has input lag, which is not fun when having to deal with mixes. Luckily, he's given me pretty good RNG. Just one hit point off. Yeah, if you don't get the candy, that boss is one of the most annoying to deal with. It can waste so much time flying in the background. Thankfully, he only did it once. Now this is World 6, the obligatory ice world of this game. It ain't a platformer by Nintendo without one. Ooh, wheel. Most of the double item mixes I usually do are to get wheel. It's just that important for the run. Also, just invincibility candy in that barrel, which, if I don't get another, I'll be saving for the World 7 boss instead. Ooh. This level's pretty tame, so if there's any donations, it's best to read them out now.
No donations.
Upcoming here is a predominantly vertical level, which in this game there's not too many ways to go fast vertically other than high jump, which has very sparing use cases. Using a new power-up in this game, or ability rather, that creates bubbles out of enemies and processes their copy abilities, which luckily it gave me a wheel, which I can now activate here. Now that annoying boss from earlier, pair that with ice physics. Sadly, they are going to the corner. Okay. In that level, I had to focus a bit, because that is one of the few opportunities you get to mix multiple bubbles in a row. Luckily, I got Tornado, which is actually really good for this fight. This is Daroch, the main antagonist of this game. He likes to teleport everywhere. And this is not the first time, not the last time we'll be seeing him. Old 7 hit, pretty tough. Doesn't matter if I lose my ability there. Sadly, most of it is water. And having a water world this late into the game is a bit annoying, but it's not too long. Goodness. You absolute memers. And over here we use metal, which is supposed to be the slowest ability in the game for obvious reasons, but it also has the fastest downward speed in the game, so we use it here for just a little extra speed. And now we enter the dark part of this very tiny ocean. I wonder what it could be. It totally really isn't obvious by the silhouette. It seems to be some sort of ship that is entirely cased in metal. And this is supposed to be a sort of maze of doors, but it's literally just left, up, left. And now we get an entire level dedicated to wheel. It's an auto-scroller, basically. So you get to hear more of this pleasant sound. Now, all of a sudden Meta Knight. And this is why I saved the candy for this boss. It absolutely destroys him. I don't know why they made his invincibility frame so low, but it really isn't hard to beat him at all. There's no timing involved at all. And now onto the last world. And suddenly space. There's actually a lot of cutscenes we skip in this run that do explain it. Essentially what happened is, after we beat Daroach in World 6, Meta Knight stole the chest that held sadly, this section we skip Metal Gear Kirby. Sadly, it's a box, not a... No, sadly, it's a barrel, not a box. English is hard. And over there, I grab an invincibility candy that is just laying there. One thing I do need to note, the route I'm doing actually mixes for a ton of invincibility candies optimally. And I'm one of 3 people who does it. The other person being the time just below me and the world record holder. Well, on Wii U VC, it's a lot more finicky to do this route on Virtual Console with touchscreen input lag. This level is pretty simple, so if there's any donations... Heck. Can't sleep on charity. What is this madness? This room is not too fun. It's mostly vertical with a ton of enemies with a wide attacking range. Oh dear. Ooh, my gamepad is actually quite low on battery, even though it's on power save mode. There is 2 levels left.
Where's your charger?
My charger's in my backpack. Oh, heck. Yeah.
Where's the plug?
The left. It's always helpful to have a sister around. Yeah. Gonna switch back to wheel for just this last part. And a nice time to relax. Just before the final boss. I don't want wheel. Ooh, he's giving me really nice RNG. Ooh, barely missed that. That can work. Though wheel straps would probably be better for the boss. This dark, ominous purple star. Because evil. Yeah, wheel strats for this fight aren't particularly easy. You have to angle your jumps. Ooh. Luckily, he's giving me pretty good RNG. Time is when the screen fades to white. Time. Well, considering how much I talked about this run hopefully being underestimate,
How do you think you did?
I'm guessing a 58.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're way off. 50? 306.
That is 20 seconds off my PB. Somehow.
Well, it obviously went much better than you thought it did.
Like, that is weird considering how few invincibility candies I get, but
Don't need them.
don't need them.
Well, thank you for coming to do your
Yeah.
run. It was pretty awesome. We're now going to be going to an intermission to set up for Drakadan and Mega Man Battle Network.